Hi everybody, Bryan Smith here for the 52 Weeks of Music blog. Little tips and tricks video today on picks and power supplies. That's coming up.
Hey, here are 2 tips on making your own picks and fixing your own power supplies.
Hey, so thanks for coming back in. Bryan Smith here for the 52 Weeks of Music blog. It's about to snow here in Atlanta, so everybody's going to go crazy, and I'm just working on a couple of things here in my little home studio. And I just thought I'd do a little video on a couple of tips and tricks that I've used and having some good success with and playing around with. If you're like me, you probably have, some picks that you really like. But if you're like me, you probably lose them or misplace them in the little jean pocket. That's what happens to me. I'll put them in the little jean pocket, and then all of a sudden I don't have them anymore. So what do? Well, I have experimented along with some things, and one of the things that I did, I got some picks like this as a gift, which I thought was pretty cool. And I had also made some picks out of some other plastic material. This was an ID card that I had for a gym while I was out in Arizona on tour. So what do? There's a couple other things you could do. If you could use an ID card, or you could use something like this. These are bread ties that because people are going out getting milk and bread and eggs to prepare for the storm. So I've taken these little bread ties that some of my housemates have left around the house and just taken them and put them into the shape of a pick. Now they have the same kind of star hole like this one does, and they're a little bit smaller, but some people like smaller picks, and they come in different little flexibilities, right? So just like these kind of more expensive picks, they have different thicknesses and such, and it's just kind of fun to make little picks for yourself and leave them around so that when you're playing you can just pick it up and go with it if you need a pick. So there's a good little tip and trick if you're interested in getting a couple more picks and not having to spend any money on it. Use some bread ties or an old ID or something like that and make yourself some picks. Now my second tip of the day is on power supplies, and this is just a little bit more advanced. For me, if you're a player, there are 2 ways to really get power to your pedals. Now, the one that I have that I use all the time is the Acoustic Live, and it is actually a 12-volt system. So it's not like a 9-volt system like most pedals are, even though it can run off of a 9-volt. So you have 2 options. You can either buy little wall warts like this that are made specifically for guitars, and I got one of those. Or you can use something like this, right, which is one of those things that this has 8 little outputs, and sometimes get really messed up. But your pedal goes in here, and then it distributes it out to, your power supply goes in here, and then it distributes it out to different things. But you could use a regular old wall wart power supply that's a DC volt. Now you look at this one and it says DC voltage, right? But if you try to plug this power supply into, say, this pedal, it actually plugs in, but it does not work. Now, it doesn't work just because it's not plugged in. It does not work because this particular connector is of an opposite polarity than most pedals are. This particular power supply uses, if you look right here really, really close, you can see that it's 9 volts at 300 milliamps. But if you look really, really close, the center conductor is the positive and the outer conductor is the negative, right? Which is really good for everybody else. But for guitar stuff, mostly it is just the opposite. In fact, if you look at this particular pedal, you can see in its diagram, let's see, you see in its diagram that the negative is in the center conductor and the positive is on the outside. Does that make a difference? Actually, it really does. And it does specifically because if you use something like this, right? And for me, I never use all 8 of these because I don't have a real big pedal board. I don't have 8 pedals. Because this is actually the positive and that is actually the negative. If one of these spare ones touches the case of something else, you can short out your power supply. So it's not always a good idea to use one of these long little octagonal spaghetti things to do your power distribution. If you're like me and you only use a couple of them, maybe just a couple of power supplies are the best. So I'm going to show you a way to convert this power supply that does not work into a power supply that does work. And I'm going to show you the technique on that. All you have to do is cut this connector off and rewire it. And if you look really, really close, so you can see the stripe on that one, right? So I'm going to do it about this far away and just clip that like so. And take off my geeky glasses. I'm going to put my geeky glasses on so that I can actually see. This side is the negative. So I'm going to take the 2 ends that are short and I'm going to twist them together like so. And then I'm going to take the 2 ends that are long and put them together like so. So now it's miswired from what the label actually says, so that the negative is now going to the center conductor and the positive is on the outside. All right? And if you look at this, look at what I did here, because this is actually a mistake. And I'm just going to show you the mistake here. Look how these fall together. Right, this one is right, but this one right here actually needs to be back over here. Right, so I am going to trim that down a little bit more. And now you have a smooth path for the cables, but they are in opposite directions, and there is no way that they are going to touch together when the cable is put together, is reassembled all the way and short out. So all you need now is a little bit of tape. Wrap a little tape around there to insulate it. So it's nice and flat. And it also has nice stress relief on that. And test it out. So let's just plug this guy in right over here. And as I plug it in, you can see that now it lights up. And whereas this did not work before, now I have an extra power supply for the rest of my little pedals. So now I have a new power supply that I can stick in my bag, and I can go and gig and leave some of my other pedals behind. So I hope that tip helps you out to get some new picks and to get yourself a new power supply, because those power supplies are like 20 bucks a piece. So with the 2 power supplies that I've already done, that saved me $40, right off the bat, which is almost as much as a Polytune pedal, or just a couple more pedals. In fact, it's almost as much as this particular pedal, so it's like getting this pedal for free. My little dark matter distortion saves you a little bit of money, and you can rewire some of your old power supplies. You just have to be careful about exactly how much current they can carry and what the wiring diagram is. So thanks for tuning in. I hope that tip helps out, and if you do, give me a little thumbs up, a little subscribe action going on there, and hopefully we'll survive another snowpocalypse here in Atlanta. Have yourself a great afternoon, and again, my name is David Bryan Smith for the 52 Weeks of Music blog.
Hey, so not twisting your arm or anything, but there's a subscribe button down below. Just saying.